45 to 2 p.m. The Lunchroom. Informative, enlightening, provocative, engaging. The Lunchroom on RCI. Food for thought. The station that gives you, more lunch.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. It is Tuesday, January the 16th, 2024, and this is program number 1812 of the Lunchroom. I'm your host, Calix George Jr. Now, you can get us, of course, on radio 101.1 FM, as well as our Facebook Live. That is, just search for the official page of Radio Caribbean International. And of course, be sure to like and share that as well with your friends and family. And don't forget, you can always download our old shows as well as stream us live on our website. That is rcistlucia.com, rcistlucia.com. And so I hope you can get us on all these various platforms. Now, if you want to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, the number to do so is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. As well as our WhatsApp number, it is 724-0008. You know that already. You should be able to call in or message in via that WhatsApp number. It is 724-0008. Now, some birthday greetings for today going out to Mr. Shanari Clark. He's celebrating a very big number today. We're not going to mention it, of course, but we hope he's having a fantastic birthday. And it's also the birthday of Fulgencio Batista. You would have recalled that name, and as well actor Kate Moss. Now, a bit of history for today. We go back to the year 27 BC. The title Augustus was bestowed upon Gaius Julius Caesar, Kaiser Octavian, by the Roman Senate. In the year 1412, the Medici family was appointed official banker for the papacy. In the year 1547, Ivan the Great, at the age of 17, crowned himself the first Tsar of Moscow. In the year 1605, the first edition of El Ingenioso Hidalgo Don Quixote de la Mancha, Book 1 of Don Quixote of the Mancha. That was by Miguel de Cervantes, and that was published in Madrid, Spain. 1793, on this day, the French king, Louis XVI, was sentenced to death by the National Convention during the French Revolution. On this day in 1913, the British House of Commons accepted Home Rule for Ireland, but the Great War got in the way of that becoming a reality. Went on to be until 1921 when Ireland achieved Home Rule. And in 1919, on this day, the 18th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, authorizing the prohibition of alcohol, was ratified by a majority of United States states. And in 1920, on this day, the first assembly of the League of Nations was held in Paris, France. And of course, that was in the aftermath of World War I, the Great War, which ended in 1918. We now move on to our dish of the day. The daily dish is brought to you the kind compliments of our good friends at Tiles Plus.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. Need all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasway and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Jugosile, and Slack Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to our program here at the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. Hope everybody's having a very blessed day. Now, of course, a matter that has certainly caused a bit of a furor over the world, and right here in St. Lucia, is one which we want to discuss here this afternoon for our dish of the day. But before I even do that, just as a point of introduction, over in France, in the French Republic, they have a new prime minister, and his name is Gabriel Attal. In fact, he is just 34 and has become the youngest prime minister that France has ever seen. Of course, you appreciate that France has a very interesting system of government. It also has a president, currently, of course, in the person of Emmanuel Macron, and that president appoints a cabinet, and so the cabinet is the one that effectively does the actual operations of government and what have you. And so there is, in fact, a position of prime minister. You could think of it to some degree as the second in command individual who comes from the parliament but is appointed by the president. And he, of course, Mr. Gabriel Attal, formerly the Minister for National Education and youth. He held that portfolio. His background is interesting as well. I think on his father's side, they are Jewish. On his mother's side, a mix of French and Russian. And in fact, he was originally raised as an Orthodox Christian. But he's also now the first openly gay prime minister of France. And that, of course, is seen as a major achievement in some respects for that country, because it can show that they are very much open and tolerant of persons of all persuasions, regardless. And in fact, that is in fact what we're seeing right now, interestingly enough, in a country which was traditionally, of course, seen within the context of religion. It was at one point called the first daughter of the church, one of the first parts of the former Roman Empire that took up the religion, the Christian faith, after the collapse of the Roman Empire in the 400s, or the Western Roman Empire, one should say. And of course, now today, it's a very, very different story. In fact, the majority of France right now considers themselves to be non-aligned to any religion whatsoever. Over 53% of the country is now, would report that they in fact have no religion whatsoever. Christianity is now just about a third of the population. And of course, even when you look at some of those figures, and this is really perhaps across the board in so many Western European countries, that adherence to what was traditionally maybe the national church, in the case of France, largely the Catholic Church. In the case of England, the Church of England. And you look at many of these institutions today, and the places where they in fact started off, they are not very popular. And certainly, even as you see figures of, a third of the population adhering to one religion, or the traditional religion, as the case may be. But when you actually look deeper in terms of the various censuses that these institutions actually have, you will see that the church attendance is even far, far, far lower than what is being seen as generally persons identifying as one religion or the other. So that is what we're seeing in the United Kingdom, for instance. Maybe one can say a little bit better, about 46.3%. Well, if you consider it better, of course, that begins with. But in terms of religion and Christianity, 46.3%. But well over a third, nearly 40% of individuals indicate that they, in fact, have no religion. And in very many of these countries, you're seeing the rise as a result of immigration of non-traditional religions in these countries. Islam, for instance, in the case of the United Kingdom, is about 6.7% of the population. In France, it's even higher, 11%. And of course, that is as a result of France having long-standing relations in North Africa, in places like Algeria and Morocco, for instance. And so you're seeing a very high proportion there of adherence to the Muslim faith. And so within this context, of course, we've seen for a very long time, religion has certainly shaped the everyday lives of individuals, and it has influenced how people undertake nearly everything, really, in their day-to-day living. One can look at the matter of religion and food, for instance. In some cases, some religions prohibit the consumption of certain types of food, or they promote the consumption of certain types of food. So, for example, in the Jewish faith, as well as the Muslim faith, you see that there is a prohibition on consumption of pig's meat or pork. And of course, you see many times these things become codified within the various religious texts of these various faiths. And of course, you sometimes wonder, well, how did these ideas come about in terms of why should one be prohibited from eating a particular type of meat? And of course, this is not only in the case of Judaism and Islam. You also have similar instances in some Christian faiths. For instance, in the case of Seventh-day Adventists and like churches, you will find similar prohibitions regarding certain types of food. And interestingly enough, there's been a lot of research that is being done into such matters, and to be able to figure out at what point did these actions come about. And the interesting research that is being done, particularly through archaeology, to be able to look into these matters really raises a lot of insight as to how some of these practices get propagated, how they begin to develop. And there's been a lot of research, of course, in the Middle East. Of course, that region, which is called the Fertile Crescent, stretching from the Nile River Valley in Africa through the Levant, through places that are experiencing significant war at this time, like Gaza, and of course Israel, and into Syria, and then back down into the Tigris and Euphrates rivers and their watersheds into that region of Mesopotamia, where it is believed that the earliest civilizations actually were born. And from a lot of the study that is done, literally, what some of these archaeologists are engaged in, it's not just about digging up the bones of human beings, in very many instances, they're studying what people are eating, and they can do so, of course, by looking at the remains of bones from various animals, and you can make certain inferences and deductions from the presence of certain bones, and not just the presence, but how much of it exists in various sites. And what, in fact, has been found is that at one point in time, across the in very early civilizations, the consumption of pork was very popular. And in fact, I think at one point they suggested it was as high as 40% of the livestock that was present in these societies. And the suggestion there is that, in fact, it was because of the benefits that accrued towards keeping of pigs in urban settings. Pigs were easy to maintain. They repopulated very quickly. They multiplied very quickly over a very short space of time. You could have a very large number of them. They, of course, could be kept in very small spaces because they didn't have to graze and have significant amounts of land to be kept. And as well, they also, especially in urban settings where you had lots of human waste, trash, they were not picky eaters. And so they, in fact, consumed, they were very good at consuming trash. And so they, in fact, were very popular in very early civilizations. But as time progressed, and as civilizations moved forward, you found that there was this push towards attainment of wealth, and the maintenance of different types of livestock became a lot more popular. The maintenance of cows, for instance, allowed for not just getting the meat of the cow, but then you also were able to get the hides of the cow. You were able to get milk, which could then be used to produce lots of other dairy products. So you had a lot of value-added opportunities with respect to rearing of cattle. Likewise, the keeping of sheep allowed for wool to be a byproduct of that. And so there were opportunities there to create and amass wealth. And a lot of the suggestions and the research is being done is suggesting that these animals became a lot more popular because of the economics of being able to keep them. And so the pig went from being what was seen as a very, prestigious animal to keep and rear, to being one that really only the poorer elements within these societies were in fact keeping. But then, and so they make the point that the rise of Judaism at the time when it became more popular, you already had a significantly depleted use of pigs within the Middle East at that time. And then you saw new influences coming in. So, for instance, the Philistines, which of course are very often mentioned in the Bible, and we can think of David, of Gath, and those battles there. These individuals, in fact, originated out of the Aegean Sea. They came out of what is modern-day Greece, these islands there, and set up colonies. They were part of that shift that happened. And so, in fact, and they ate a lot of pork. And so there is a belief that the identification of individuals and in fact seeing some differences there became really more important in terms of identifying individuals. And it became even more so even further on down the road when you had the Hellenistic period becoming a lot more popular in that same region. And so the idea was that, in fact, and we should also point out that there were some elements within Israel who were also eating pigs as well in the northern kingdom. And so there is that belief that there was that idea to push that as a means to say, look, we are different, and this is one of the things that people who are going to adhere to our faith are going to, in fact, keep. So quite often, we keep certain practices which are passed down through religion through very, very interesting reasons. But and sometimes the real reasons for these things are not even really seen in today's world. But this is the nature of religion. Religion certainly has major impacts in the practices of individuals. And that continues to this very day, and no doubt about it, it's probably going to continue for a very, very long time. Another area, of course, is the matter of religion and sexuality. And, of course, we can see how that is impacting the discourse up to today. And, of course, most religions around the world define the nature of relationships. Some religions, for instance, will promote monogamy, and the Christian faith is one of those, for instance, and it's therefore they see the idea of a marital union as being one of between one man and one woman. In some other religions, it is they allow for more polygamous situations. In some instances, in Islam, for instance, individuals are allowed to have more than one spouse, more than one wife. And you see in other cases differences in approaches there. As well, the issue of celibacy is another one, for instance. We have the rules about that. And of course, rules about certain people who may be religious having to take certain vows of celibacy. And of course, the matter of sexual orientation, which is one which is very, very much prevalent right now, and the debate over sexual orientation is, of course, another area within which the religion continues to strongly influence the views of individuals. And it certainly has become significantly divisive over many, many places and in many, many countries, and even within institutions that generally espoused certain positions. For instance, within the Anglican faith and in other Christian faiths as well, there was a time when, of course, a minister of religion had to be a male individual. And, of course, that still largely holds true within the Catholic faith. But now we've seen changes within that in the Anglican Church, and that caused a certain level of schism in some regard, with many priests deciding that they no longer wanted to remain within the Anglican communion, and in some instances they even joined the Catholic communion, and were in fact welcome, even though they in fact were already married. A provision was made for them to come forward. Of course, the issue of marriage and holding the office of priest is certainly not so strict in the case of the Orthodox churches, for instance. They allow for their priests to be married, although I don't think in the case of their bishops they are not allowed. So these issues, of course, are very, very much front and center today in the whole debate over sexual orientation and the movements that you are seeing, of course, around the world with respect to LGBTQI. We're hearing, of course, of the debate over identity again, the debate over what pronouns to use to refer to certain individuals. People seem to believe that this is quite a mutable matter, and it's a fluid matter. And of course, we're seeing in many countries the rise of allowing a redefinition of what is considered a marital union to, in fact, allow for it to be not just about one man and one woman. So the issue has also come up within the context of the Catholic Church, and the Church's position seems to be that, well, we will not be, we still recognize that marriage is one man and one woman, but that you may find situations where individuals who may be in a relationship and that relationship is not what we consider to be a relationship of marriage, or they may not be married at all, and a priest may decide to be able to, in fact, give a blessing to that individual. Now, I probably can't explain this matter as well as the individual who we're going to listen to next, and that is the Archbishop of Castries. Of course, as a result of lots of interest in this, a press statement was issued by His Grace Archbishop, the Most Reverend Gabriel Malzé, on this matter, which has caused quite a bit of a stir around the world, and certainly right here in St. Lucia. Let's take a listen.
The mission of the Church is the mission of Jesus Christ. Brothers and sisters in Christ, the Holy Scriptures from the Old to the New Testament tells us in so many ways that Jesus Christ was sent by the Father for one single purpose, that is, to save humanity from the clutches of evil, sin, and destruction. Here I quote the text of the Gospel of John, in which we are reminded that God loved the world so much that He gave His only Son, so that everyone who believes in Him will not be lost, but may have everlasting life. For God sent His Son into the world not to condemn the world, but so that through Him the world might be saved. John chapter 3, verse 16 and 17. St. Paul, in his turn, reminds us that what proves that God loves us is that Christ died for us while we were still sinners. Romans chapter 5, verse 8. With these texts and many others, we are clear about Christ's mission to the world. Therefore, the church which He founded has the very same mission, that is, to save humanity through her teaching and her manner of life. In other words, it is the function of the church to assist its faithful followers to eliminate sin in their lives in all its form and manifestations. According to St. Paul, the church, which is the body of Christ, embraces all people, seeking to bring them to communion with Christ, its head. Sin remains the only element that keeps that human person from communion with the church and therefore with Christ. Of necessity, the church must remain open to everyone and anyone who genuinely wants to come to Christ, and must not be seen to condone any action which the Holy Scriptures teach to be sinful. Again, we reiterate, the role of the church is to help the faithful on their journey to salvation, not to justify or condone human sinfulness in any of its form. On December 18th, 2023, the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith published a declaration entitled Fiducia Supplicans on the pastoral meaning of blessing. This declaration has created unprecedented attention by media platforms worldwide, creating untold confusion in the minds of believers, to the point that on January 4th, 2024, the same dicastery published another document seeking to clarify the application of the declaration. However, the confusion continues. Truthfully, the declaration remains firm on the traditional doctrine of the church about marriage, not allowing any type of liturgical rite or blessing similar to a liturgical rite that can create confusion. However, it recommends a certain openness for the church to grant non-liturgical blessings to persons in irregular unions, including same-sex unions. The January 4th, 2024 explanatory document states that each local bishop, by virtue of his own ministry, always has the power of discernment in loco, meaning location. That is, in that concrete place that he knows better than others, precisely because it is his own flock. Therefore, considering the great confusion created in the minds of the faithful in the Archdiocese of Castries and the Diocese of Roseau, as head of those two ecclesiastical territories, I hereby state the following. 1. The Gospel presents Jesus as mercy par excellence. Whenever he hobnobbed with prostitutes, tax collectors, and sinners, he was always on mission and therefore brought many to conversion. Jesus never condoned any sinful condition, but rather showed compassion to the sinner and told him, "Go and sin no more." 2. The teaching of the Church on marriage between one man and one woman is unchangeable. This truth is deeply ingrained in the tenets of the Holy Scripture, generally accepted in the psyche of and practice of the Caribbean people, and endorsed by the country's constitution. 3. Rooted in the sacred scriptures, the Church teaches that marriage is the union for life of one man and one woman that is open to life, and so consequently, the Church cannot approve, sanction, or bless any irregular marital union, such as common law unions, adulterous unions, polygamous unions, or same-sex unions. 4. The Declaration makes the important point that a blessing from the Church must have an ascending value, meaning that it must tend towards the conversion of those who seek it. Therefore, the Church will not endorse anyone who seeks its blessing for selfish and inordinate ends, such as the acceptance of a sinful situation. 5. No clergyman in the Archdiocese of Castries or the Diocese of Roseau, for which I am responsible, is permitted to grant blessing upon any sinful union. 6. The Church remains open, as its mission dictates, to anyone of any color, creed, class, persuasion, or orientation who wishes to be converted to Christ for the salvation of his or her soul. As such, we will bless anyone who sincerely asks the Church for a blessing on his or her journey to God. For God's sun shines on good and bad alike, and his rain falls on the just and the unjust alike, as Jesus tells us in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 45. I thank you.
And that there was a message sent by the Archbishop of Castries, his Most Reverend Gabriel Malze. We'll, of course, be able to discuss this and the overall matter of this issue in just a bit, but that's our dish of the day. We're due to take in our weather report at this time.
This has been The Daily Dish.
One tells for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tells for your balcony. Come down to Tells Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tells Plus, Tells Plus, Tells Plus. Big tells with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. This all kind of tells. Come down to Tells Plus. We also got gas and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tells on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Grosile, and Slack Street in Dufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tells Plus.
Island style. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, we'll have to make the right choice. Island style. Whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island style. Oh yeah. We make your dream come alive. In island style.
We have tiles and things, sets, mixes and ground. Everything you need to sort the house out. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style Car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality, price, service, choice. It's all an Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Belarus, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Cass Street, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. Or call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And that's what goes to the 1.1 and 99.1 FM. It's now time for your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talent Bar. The forecast for St. Lucia Valley for the next 24 hours. The winds will be blowing from the east near 23 miles per hour or 37 kilometers per hour. With occasional gusts. The weather partly cloudy and breezy, becoming cloudy at times, with intermittent light to moderate showers. And there is an advisory in here which raises small craft operators and sea beavers are advised to exercise caution due to brisk winds and locally rough seas. The forecast for the Lesser Antilles, partly cloudy and breezy, becoming cloudy at times with scattered light to moderate showers over the Windward Islands. Fair to occasionally cloudy skies with a few showers over the Leeward Islands. And the weather summary: the Atlantic high pressure system will continue to generate moderate to brisk easterly winds and locally rough seas across the Eastern Caribbean region during the next few days. A series of shear lines drifting over the region will continue to cause cloudy periods with scattered showers over the central and southern Lesser Antilles. Patches of low-level clouds drifting along the easterly wind flow will cause a few showers over the northern portion of the region during the next 24 hours. And this was your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talent Bar.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Island style. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, we'll have to make the right choice. Island style. Whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island style. Oh yeah. We make your dream come alive. In island style.
We have tiles and things, sets, mixes and ground. Everything you need to sort the house out. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style Car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality, price, service, choice. It's all an Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Belarus, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Cass Street, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. Or call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. Of course, the number to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, it is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. And you can also message in on our WhatsApp. That is 724-0008. Again, 724-0008. Just a bit of news. Unfortunately, yesterday we saw another homicide. That was number 4 for the year 2024, and this occurred in the town of Grosley and on Dauphin Street. That was around 3 p.m. yesterday. Appeared to have been a shooting, and the victim identified as 27-year-old Canis Felicia of Notre Dame Street, Grosley, and the police are also asking for any information. If you have any information regarding this matter, to call the Grosley police station. That number is 456-3830, 456-3830. And as well, you can send anonymous tips, and that is through the crime hotline 555, as well as utilizing the Royal St. Lucia Police Force Crime Hotline application. That is an app that's available on Google Play Store. So you've got many different ways. If you do have any information regarding this and other crimes, you can in fact utilize that anonymous platform by calling 555 or using that crime hotline app as well. Of course, not good news as we only 16 days, half the month is gone, and 4 homicides already for the month of January. So let's hope that this spike is not going to be the norm. Now, we were just discussing the matter of that recent notice or statement, which has caused quite a lot of concern amongst many Christians here in St. Lucia, and not just here, of course, but certainly in many other parts of the Christian world, in particular that of Africa. And there in Africa, still a very traditional church, one which is in fact still growing. It's one of the few places in the world, few continents in the world, that the church is actually growing in size. And of course, you are still seeing a large number of vocations of priests and religious coming out of Africa, and as well to some extent parts of Asia like India and the Philippines, and of course that position has certainly been struck down by many of the African dioceses, and seemingly so, as had been pointed out in the statement by the Archbishop of Castries. Does not appear that this is in fact going to be provided for, so to speak, within the local church. But of course, if you've got views on this matter, please be free to call in. It is also has become a geopolitical issue, and quite recently, the European Union and the African, Caribbean, and Pacific states, the ACP. Traditionally, these states have been seen as the former colonies of Europe, and they had arrangements through agreements like the Lomé Agreement over many years to deal with matters of trade, principally dealing with the production of crops which had traditionally been grown in these areas. For instance, our bananas, in other parts of the world, sugar, cocoa in Africa, and so on. It really came within these Lomé agreements, and there was an attempt to negotiate a new partnership agreement between the European Union and these ACP states, and it has been termed the Samoa Agreement because it was largely agreed upon in that country, in that Pacific country. But there's been a considerable amount of pushback over the matter of signing of that agreement. And that is because the 48 African, 16 Caribbean, and 15 Pacific countries, many of them are in fact saying that this new agreement or partnership agreement is in fact is not just simply about trade anymore. It's not about sustainable development. It is also including matters dealing with human rights. And so, from the perspective of the European Union, the matter of LGBT rights is being incorporated within this agreement, and that has caused for one can say a bit of a standoff across many Caribbean countries, as well as a certain number of African countries, over not in fact signing this new agreement. So it's interesting that we're seeing these matters certainly becoming a lot more prevalent in the frictions between countries as well. Whereas you have one set of countries that are promoting these rights, and another set of countries that are saying, you know, this is not what our population generally ascribes to, and we don't want to actually take on board these rights. So it is certainly becoming a hotbed of issues, and we are seeing how some of these issues are certainly becoming very, very controversial, even in places like the United States of America, largely seen as the most developed country in the world. But it is, in fact, one of those countries that still has a fairly strong Christian right, and they, in fact, are certainly pushing back on a number of issues. And this is part of the popularity of an individual like Donald Trump. Because in as much as many persons will see some of his ideas as being racist, or he's been promoting things like fascism, he is promoting a lot of these very, very, very nasty things, really. But some people actually see him as a sort of a messiah, because he is in fact promoting some of those values that they ascribe to as well. But
Hello?
let's get another voice into the mix and taking a call at this time. Good afternoon and welcome to the lunch.
Hello?
What's on your plate today?
I'm not hearing you.
Hello, good afternoon, caller.
I'm not hearing you.
Are you hearing us now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, go right ahead, caller.
You know, well, Trump has more things to like about him than Biden, you know.
Oh, you think so, eh?
Especially now.
Okay.
That thing really swing it in Trump's favor, man. That Israel thing there.
Yes.
And he tied up, man. It's a good thing to be on the other side now, you know. Because I don't think Trump would have still supported Israel, notwithstanding that. But the point is Biden that's in the seat there now.
Mm-hmm.
But
right.
Israel, man. You know our theology. A lot of people has been rocked, by this whole thing that's going on there. That's a game changer, you know.
Between Israel and Hamas and Gaza, Palestine.
Yeah. Because I mean, the perception is of these guys, Netanyahu and them, as being children of Israel. I don't know, and the whole concept of that country. Because all right, if you check, Judaism is not based on Christianity. All right. Sometimes people feel these people are Christians and the Bible and so on and so forth. But it's based on mostly the laws of Moses coming up from Genesis there right throughout, and the Old Testament. And one of the things that's strictly forbidden in these laws is same-sex, unions. All right?
Right, okay.
And, Israel was one of the first countries to allow same-sex marriage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Huh?
Yes. Yes.
So I don't know.
It is a very polarized country. It is you have a lot of different interest groups. A lot of it's one of the most politicized countries in the world, and when this whole matter started off with what we saw happening, I think back on October the 6th, a part of me wondered whether this was somehow, I wouldn't say a lucky distraction for Netanyahu, but it certainly took focus away from what was a very, very difficult period, for his government, and some of the things that he was pushing. There were people on the streets protesting continuously every week for months. And it almost gave him a sort of an opportunity to put that domestic crisis on hold for a while, and to galvanize the country against this, very quote unquote familiar enemy, that of Hamas. So, I mean, Israel we think of it, yes, as this country for Jews, but you have very, very stark differences in camps between the ultra-Orthodox and the very secular parts of society, which are very, very open. They'll consider themselves ethnic. They consider themselves Israeli and maybe ethnic Jew, but in terms of actually practicing of Judaism, very, very many of them are not that at all. So
but to me, what Israel really is a model of white supremacy. But white supremacists wherever they are, Europe, and that's why they're so formidable. America and so on. They have the state there that represents them. They put their resources in it to make sure it stands out as a beacon of democracy, because it wouldn't come across in any. They want it to come across like, some dictatorship like you would have in the case of Europe, like them of Hitler and Franco and these sort of guys in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
So you would have a semblance of democracy, be tolerant to all sorts of everything, which is to project democracy, like gay rights and so on and so forth. They would make sure they give them the resource. They make sure they give them the resources, because Israel is barring developed countries, mainly in Europe and America and so on. Israel has the highest percentage of tertiary education, in what you would like to call, we look at as third world. Well, it's not a third world.
Oh no, certainly not.
Exactly.
It certainly has put itself up as a tech giant. It has a developed world economy. It is.
Because that's what permits it to survive. The level of research and the level of knowledge, and it's a knowledge-based country.
Yeah.
And they make sure they feed it with these resources. Plus, importantly, the what you call the defense capability, and not just defense, the offense capability also.
That's right. Yes.
Because they want to they want to project also hegemony there. The right to expand.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have this little country there, they don't expect it to remain just 2 million people. What's the population? How many million?
It's about 10 million now. 9 point something.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and a few square miles. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Because there is a limit to what they could do with that. They'll make it produce to optimal capacity. Because as you could see, what the level of production in agriculture,
Certainly.
is far outstrips most other countries.
Mm-hmm.
What they could produce on that little space of land. This is why the sort of development they have is what you call the kibbutz. When they just roll in and create their settlements on Palestinian lands, and through the kibbutz. The kibbutz are farms,
Mm-hmm.
sort of kind of little communal farms and so on and so forth. So they everything is well planned, And you look at them, most times you look at the parliament, you hardly see a black face. No, although to legitimize the whole concept that they are Jewish, they actually repatriated a lot of falashas, which are the original black Jews
Mm-hmm.
that were in as far as Ethiopia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you aware of that?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, all over the place. Now, these are the Jews, genuine Jews who never really went to Europe and so on and so forth. So to legitimize their appearance of being Jewish, they brought these people. But these people have, if you listen to how them people live there now, these people have been taken in and they have been left out. They have been taken in but left out completely.
Mm.
And you could see the face of Israel is basically white. So this pretension of being God's people, it just doesn't exist at all. Now, Eurocentric Christianity find themselves in the situation where they have no choice but to abide with that, because their whole thing is built on that anyway. The essence of what they have been projecting, they themselves, the Christian doctrine that they have been promoting for centuries through slavery and all these kind of concepts. You know what I'm saying? Is white supremacist also. But they have gained, they've got, a lot of people have bought into it, and that's why now you have so many black people, Filipino people, South Latinos, all people from all over the world who claim, who abide by that doctrine, So they have bought into that.
Yeah,
But
when you look at it,
time now, when these same people sit down and watching what is going on there, you think we're unique in our take on that? What's going on there? They must feel something. They must question something about that theocracy that leads to that,
right?
And how it came to that,
right?
You know what I'm saying?
And well, you're calling it theocracy, but it's interesting because
Beg your pardon?
I said you're calling it a theocracy, and I said it's interesting because the justification,
it's fabricated anyway.
Okay, so the justification, in the minds of a lot of people on the outside, right, is almost a religious justification, right? That this was a land, the promised land. You get all these biblical imageries that this was promised to the Jewish people, and so therefore they have this right to it. Never mind the state of Israel, even before this 1948 period. The last time there was a state of Israel, you have to go way back into the Maccabean period, in what, 1-something BC, I think 46 BC or whatever it is. So 2,000 years elapsed, and you're now saying, well, we're going to recreate something that happened 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
You try to do that in so many other places in the world right now, and you'll see what will happen.
Exactly.
We will have...
you try and recreate, tell the Indians in America, let me go and reclaim America.
There you go.
You think these white people, these people who run in America would allow that?
we want an Indian nation now, or
Exactly.
whatever you want to call it, and
Yes.
it's
Because it's your right. It's your right.
there you go.
But
So-
even from the rudiments of this thing, when you check on the Genesis, I mean, if the Jews are children of Abraham, Ishmael was born before Isaac. I don't know to what extent you
yeah. I mean,
Ishmael
and his
the Arabs
descendants.
are supposed to be the children of Ishmael, which is not it's like that wife and Ishmael was cast away and went on a different path from the ones that became the children of God, so to speak. You understand? But I mean, well, okay, if so be the case, children of Israel, of Abraham, then the children of Ishmael have their rights too.
Caller, we all have our rights. We're
Yeah,
all children of
exactly.
Adam. We all children, I mean, and this is where the issue is that we're seeing that religion is being used to justify that somebody has the right over a particular amount of land.
Yes.
That will always be problematic, and you see, I mean, to some degree, this is how we live, because we say, I'm born in a place, so therefore I have rights to this place,
Yeah.
And when you look at some of these structures that we have, I mean, that we accept as the norm around the world, I mean, you're bound to have problems, You're bound to have a lot of division and warfare, because we want to be able to claim, property, and so it's going to be. It's going to continue to be very, very problematic as we move forward, unless if we can begin to get commonalities and move beyond some of these divisors which we have. Yeah. So, thanks very much for the contribution, caller.
Okay, yeah. Thanks,
Lots of food for thought on our plate there. But we're going to have to put this to a pause. We're going to have to put it on the fridge for the time being, because we're actually out of time here at the Lunchroom. But we'll be back again tomorrow for another episode of the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. Hope you can join us for that, God willing. I'm your host, Calix George Jr., saying goodbye.